Hey, Charlie.
Let's talk.
It's the right talk.
Charlie?
Welcome. This is the Charlie James Show.
Now we're talking.
News Talk 98.9.
WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
And welcome to the program on your Thursday afternoon. Can you believe it that 2 weeks from today is Christmas? Just 2 weeks from today, all the little kiddies will be waking up and they'll be running, getting under that Christmas tree and tearing into those toys, see what Santa brought them. Yeah, it's going to be a great day. Looking forward to it. Listen, if you guys, I know we got a lot of stuff going on, but please put a lot of this stuff aside and just have yourself the very merriest of Christmases. Please do that. Get together with your family and your friends and just celebrate what we know to be the reason of the season and just enjoy that. Enjoy each other. Yeah, all of this craziness is going to be there once you've thrown away all the wrapping paper. Once you've taken the tree down, undecorated everything, all of this mess is still going to be with us. So looky here. So the health care plan that the Senate, John Thune, put out was defeated today in the Senate. I know. I'm with you on this. I'm shocked. Wait a minute. Oh, how could this possibly be? How could a bill that is going to require 60 votes to enact cloture, how can this die in the Senate? I don't get it, John Thune. How many Democrats did you think were going to join you in this bill? The answer to that is absolutely zero. No Democrats voted for this bill. Now, what this bill would have done is it would have actually put money in your pocket, or rather your health savings account. And this would have allowed you, and what it would have really shaken up the whole industry. Because right now, these insurance companies, they're getting the money. So you know they're all about Obamacare. They love Obamacare. They think it is great. In fact, the top 7, are you ready for this? The top 7 insurance providers in the country that have gotten, the Obamacare contracts, the exchange contracts, the top 7, their profits have gone from $551 billion to right about $1.3 trillion. So the insurance companies are loving this. And by the way, the premiums are so high and the deductibles are so high, people aren't even using it. They're going like, yeah, you know what? I'm going to go cash option on this. Yeah, forget that. So, the whole thing is a big insurance company scam. And remember when Nancy Pelosi said we're going to have to pass the bill before we find out what's in it? Well, here we are 15 years later, and we're finding out exactly what's in that bill. It was designed to fail. So the GOP puts up a half-hearted attempt at some sort of a health care plan, knowing, and John Thune knew this thing was going to die. He was completely okay with this thing dying. But at least, hey, we tried something. Oh, look at us. We tried to do something. So now they're going to be voting on the Democrat version of the bill. And let's see who goes along with this. Now, this was a roll call vote, so I don't really have all the numbers on who voted for what, but we do know this. We do know that every single Democrat voted against this bill. So the best thing John Thune could do, you would think maybe, just maybe. Now, he knew he was never going to get the 60 votes. Never going to get 60 votes. Maybe if John Thune would do something, I don't know, radical, kind of radical, like doing away with the filibuster, then these bills actually have a chance, because the vote for this bill was 51-48 today. 51-48. Maybe this bill would have had a chance. Maybe a lot of these bills would have a chance. Maybe the rogue judges bill would have a chance. Maybe some bill that would actually make our elections safer would have a chance. All of these bills, no mail-in voting, that would have a chance. Because they're being passed by the House, but once they get in the Senate, they're going nowhere. And there's only one way for a bill to be passed in the Senate, and that's you're going to have to do away with the filibuster. What John Thune is doing is he is going to, and remember, we told you this when they were talking about making him Senate Majority Leader, just as bad as Mitch McConnell. We told you he was a never-Trumper, and he is going to try and waste the next 3 years of the Trump presidency. And if the Republicans lose in the midterm elections, then basically Donald Trump immediately becomes a lame duck president for the next 2 years. The only thing that he will be able to get done will be through executive orders. That's it. And we all know what can happen to executive orders once a new president gets in. They're all gone. Forget about it. So the only hope would be, if we lose the midterms and Donald Trump keeps legislating with these executive orders, the only hope would be for another Republican to win in 2028. But I don't even know if they want that in the House and the Senate. Not with the way they're acting. Now remember, don't listen to what people say. Watch what they do. And if you watch what they do, you never have to interpret what people say, because their actions will always tell on them. And we have a chance to do some real substantive things in this country, make some real change. But because that filibuster is there, oh no, Charlie, as soon as the Democrats get in, they're going to do away with the filibuster. They're going to do that anyway. Nothing is going to stop them. The only thing that stopped them last time was Kyrsten Sinema and who was the other guy? I can't remember. Was it Massey? Yeah, I think it might have been Massey. Those are the only two that stopped the Democrats. That was it. Well, they're gone now. And we've got a brand new breed of Democrats in there, and they will overturn. They will do away with the filibuster. And I will say that will probably be the second thing they do on the first day. When we get back, you heard about that Venezuelan oil tanker that got seized, but what was that all really about? We'll tell you about it coming up next. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WRD, the voice of the Carolinas.
A native Georgia bulldog who bites back at big government. It's the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9
WORD, the voice of the Carolinas. on the Common Sense Retirement Planning text line.
800-905-0989. Text or call. One number does it all.
800-905-0989.
This is the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
So the Coast Guard, in concert with the United States Navy, they boarded and seized an oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela yesterday. And all of these Democrats are like, what? Charlie, I don't even think that's illegal, Charlie. I think that's piracy, Charlie. What Donald Trump is doing is piracy, Charlie. Oh, my goodness. Even the biddies on The View had an opinion on this. Let's take a listen to them.
Just follow the tanker.
You know, he was the original Size Matters guy, you know?
Yeah, you know, I don't understand. I mean, okay, he sees the tanker. What is it really? What is this really? Is this more, let's not talk about Epstein? Is this let's not talk about Hegseth? What is this? Because
remember the movie,
what happens if the people who support Venezuela, like, I don't know,
like Venezuelans.
The Chinese get their oil from Venezuela, do
The
they
Russians.
not? Russians. So what happens if they get on the side of the Venezuelans and say, this is not right? What happens if there's retaliation? All these guys in power now seem to be living on bases all over the country. Somehow they're living on army bases and stuff. Who's going to pay if there's retaliation?
We are.
All right. So, yes, they are the dumbest people on the planet. So what is this really all about? Well, there's a politician down in Venezuela. Her name is Maria Corina Machado. She is in opposition to the Venezuelan regime that is going on right now. And somebody asked her if she would welcome U.S. military intervention in Venezuela. She said, some people talk about an invasion in Venezuela, the threat of an invasion, and I tell them Venezuela's already been invaded. We have Russian agents. We have Iranian agents. We have terrorist groups such as Hezbollah and Hamas operating freely with the regime's approval. We have the Colombian guerrilla and drug cartels controlling 60% of our territory, involved not only in drug trafficking, but also in human trafficking and networks of prostitution. That has turned Venezuela into the criminal hub of the Americas. What sustains the regime is a very powerful, well-funded system of repression. Where does that funding come from? The drug trafficking, the black market in oil, the arms trafficking, and human trafficking. Now, what the ladies on The View failed to tell you, that oil tanker that was seized by the U.S. Coast Guard was actually sanctioned by the Biden administration for selling to terrorist groups and flying false flags and trying to hide the fact. But no. It was to distract from Epstein. That's what it was. But this is not really. I mean, when we talk about oil, drugs, things like that, blowing up the drunk rudder boats, what's this really all about? Well, it's more than what you think. This is a guy named Stephen Eugene Kuhn. I want you to listen to what he says.
I talked about Venezuela the other day, and a lot of people came at me saying, hey, don't you realize this is about drugs, fentanyl, and cartels? Well, that's not the whole story, guys. That's what they want you to believe. People think Trump's down there to stop drugs from coming into America. That's part of it, but that's not the mission. Drugs are the smallest part of the operation. This isn't about fentanyl, cocaine, or heroin. This is about money. Drug money. It doesn't just move through the cartels. It moves through private banks, family offices, offshore structures, investment vehicles. It props up commercial banks. It backstops liquidity. It keeps the entire globalist financial system breathing when it should have collapsed a long time ago. From the U.S. to Europe to the Far East, trillions of dollars. That's the real infrastructure. And that is what Trump is targeting. That's why he isn't really targeting governments. He's targeting funding arteries. And that terrifies the globalists more than anything on earth. Because banker-run economies don't survive on real production. They survive on invisible money flows. And Trump is forcing a shift back to reality. Real goods, real sovereignty, real borders, and real industry. That leaves the financial parasites behind.
Yep. So all of this stuff that's going on, you see, Trump's just taking care of the symptom. And when he takes care of the symptom, the actual problem is going to take care of itself. You destroy that money pipeline that the globalists are thriving on. That's why all these Democrats are against it. That's why all of these, because they know what the plan is. They know that Trump's not actually just going after the street corner drug dealers, so to speak. Because if he takes care of all the street corner drug dealers, then the big guys, their cash is going to dry up. And if their cash dries up, they go out of business. Somebody told me, Charlie, this really isn't making a difference on the streets of Greenville. I talked to some Greenville police officers, and they said they haven't seen. No, you're probably not going to see a big difference on the streets of Greenville or Spartanburg or Anderson. But I will guarantee you, in Venezuela, and with all these globalist entities around the world, they are seeing this. This is hitting them right square in the pocket. In fact, that is and I've told you this before. What is that? Gosh, I always mess this name up. There's a website out there called Prothean Action. Prothean Action. And they outline all of this. A couple of great ladies on there that talk about this. We all see what Trump is doing on the surface. But what he is actually doing, he's like an iceberg. He's only showing the top 10%. That other 90% of all the things that he are doing are making a direct blow against the globalist economies and the globalist entities who ultimately want to control everybody and everything. People like Klaus Schwab at the World Economic Forum, who says, you will own nothing and you will be happy. Well, if you don't own it, who does? They do. You just rent it from them. That's the ultimate goal. They want to own all the stuff, and they want to own all the land and all the houses, and they just simply want you to go to work and pay them for the privilege of using those products every single day. That's ultimately what they want. This isn't about equality. It's not about equity. It's about them getting filthy, stinking rich and absolutely bathing in the pool of power that they have built for themselves. So when you see Trump doing all of this stuff, always remember, he's doing it for the betterment of you, both on the surface and below the surface, because he knows the danger of these globalists out there. Globalists like people like Nikki Haley. Told you yesterday about Australia, requiring ID to be on social media. Wasn't it Nikki Haley that? Oh, yeah, absolutely. Globalists always reveal themselves every single time. And one of the things that President Trump has done here over the past, couple of months is he started enacting tariffs. And what was everybody saying about these tariffs? Oh, it's going to ruin our trade deficit. Trump is just sticking a knife in the back of the American taxpayer with all of it. Well, not exactly. In fact, we got some new numbers coming out that are going to shock you. And Representative Benny Thompson, the guy that was on the January 6th committee, you won't believe what he had to say about the shooting of 2 National Guardsmen in Washington, D.C. He's getting a lot of backlash for this. We'll tell you all about it. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WRD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Tough on issues, sharp with facts. It's the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9
WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Charlie Speaks. You listen on your time. Get the show on demand. Text podcast to 800-905-0989. The Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
Oh, Trump's just a Trump's tariffs. Oh, Trump's tariffs are going to be a disaster. I mean, I could just hear Mark Sanford. Oh, it's going to be a disaster. Oh, all these people. Oh, it's just a tax on the American consumer. Oh, it's going to cause our trade deficit to skyrocket. Oh, it was so much pearl clutching going on when Trump started announcing his tariffs. And he's like, well, you guys just sit back and wait and see. Sit back, wait and see what happens. It's going to be great. You're going to love it. It's going to be wonderful. These tariffs are going to be the greatest tariffs you've ever seen in your life. It's going to get there. And so all these people are like, oh, he's an idiot. Well, as in homage to the great Rush Limbaugh. Breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. It was just confirmed that the United States trade deficit plummeted 53% over the past year thanks to President Trump's tariffs. Our trade deficit in 2024 was $367 billion. November 2025, $193 billion, ladies and gentlemen. So, the experts lose again. Let's take a listen to CNBC.
Minus 52.8 billion. That's a better, lower trade deficit than we expected. We were looking for a number closer to 62 billion, and that follows a revised minus 59 billion. Minus 52 billion would be the lightest going back to, wow, we're really going back. Well, my records go back to 1992, and to find a smaller number than minus 52 billion, we're all the way back to June of 2020.
Wow.
236,000 is initial jobless claims. So the one.
Oh, yeah. So all the experts out there, I love all these experts, and just how wrong these experts have been. Just how wrong they've been. If Jerome Powell over the Fed, oh yeah, we got a little bit of a interest cut yesterday. But if Jerome Powell would just listen to the president, and by the way, that ruling, that Supreme Court ruling that says that President Trump can fire independent agency heads, that also means Jerome Powell over the Fed. Yeah. This guy's got to go. This was a guy that gave interest rate cuts during the height of Joe Biden's inflation. Remember when it was up around 9%? And when some people said when that hits the streets, it's more like 12, 13, 14% inflation. And now here we are under President Trump around 3%. Jerome Powell actually implemented a rate cut to try to hedge off inflation. But he refuses to do a rate cut under the Trump administration. And that's for one reason and one reason only. It's not economic, it's political. These people do not want President Trump's initiatives to pass. So they're doing every single thing they can. The Democrats, and yes, some Republicans out there, I know this is going to shock you, want President Trump to fail. And there's no better way to ensure that President Trump fails than to start tinkering around with the economy. I just want you to imagine, just for a moment, if we had a House of Representatives and a Senate that were all completely on board with what President Trump was saying. Just imagine that. Imagine where we would be right now if Donald Trump only had to worry about the economy, foreign policy, domestic policy, and that was it. Worry about the Democrats, the economy, foreign policy, domestic policy. That's all he had to worry about every single day. But he doesn't. He's got to worry about more than that. He's got to not only worry about all of that, he's also got to worry about these Republicans out there that are stalling every single thing. When are they just going to look back and realize that maybe, just maybe, this guy knows what he's doing? Just maybe. He knows what he's doing about the economy. He knows what he's doing about immigration. Oh, no, Charlie. No. The American people do not agree with President Trump on immigration. Well, you would actually be extremely wrong. Because according to new polls, the majority of Americans are behind Donald Trump and his immigration policies. Yes, exactly. In fact, so much so that President Trump's approval ratings are higher than Barack Obama's. Yep, you heard me right. You heard me right. But now that's something that the Democrats, they're not going to let you know about, right? They always want to be very, very quiet about that. So I'm telling you what, it really is amazing because we know that the mainstream media is not going to report on all of this stuff. In fact, it's not just what they report, it's what they don't even talk about. They barely talked about the arrest of the person who shot the National Guardsman. Both of them, killed one, grievously wounding the other. Barely even really covered that. But what Benny Thompson said in the House today, well, it goes beyond the pale. Goes beyond the pale. By the way, just want to let you know that the suspect who allegedly, got to say that, shot Charlie Kirk appeared in court today, and he had a bit of a smirk on his face. Got to admit, he looks pretty lighthearted. I'll tell you about that coming up. Let's go to Lucas in Piedmont. Lucas, welcome.
Hey, Charlie.
Yes, sir.
Thursday already, but needed to talk about these tariffs because I was just reading about the deficit coming down to a low point for the last 5 years, and of course, that's being brushed over by the liberal media. I didn't see anything from CNN, MSDNC, and they're trying to cover it up as much as they can. But the one thing that I also found interesting regarding tariffs is that, everybody complained that Trump and his tariffs are just going to, malign every of our international trading partners and drive up prices. But there's another country that just implemented tariffs against China, and people are cheering it on. It's Mexico.
Oh.
The country where you're saying, Mexico, good for them fighting China.
Yeah.
And the trade issues and, the same country that was seeing protests because they didn't want the gringos coming in and changing their language and culture.
Exactly.
And they're like, get them out of here. And they're allowed to protest that because they don't need their country invaded by people who don't belong there.
Isn't it? I mean, the irony is absolutely astounding, Lucas. I appreciate it. I want to thank Mr. Postman, who has followed me over on X. And if you're not, you need to follow me over on Twitter. I'm at Charlie on Air. That's at Charlie on Air. Mr. Postman posted this meme. It says, the Democrats' job is to destroy the country. The Republicans' job is to pretend they will stop them. Oh, how true. How true. We'll be right back. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WRD, the voice of the Carolinas.
15 minutes of breaking news and stimulating talk begins every hour, every afternoon on The Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
Let your fingers do the talking.
Text the Common Sense Retirement Planning text line at 800-905-0989.
This is the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
An Afghan national that was let in by Joe Biden murdered a National Guards woman and severely injured another National Guardsman. This is a guy that should have never been here in the first place. Not a bit. No. It should not have been here. Because there was no way to vet these people. You see, Afghanistan does not have a strong central government. In fact, I don't even know if you could go and find the capital of Afghanistan, where they keep all the records, because there are none. We have no idea about this. But it wasn't just the Democrats that let these people in. Remember, it was our very own senator from South Carolina who said this.
We're going to get this done. This is the right thing to do. There's no other ending that is acceptable to me. The people who were there with us in the fight that are here in America need to stay. This will be their new home. So we have a moral obligation to these people. They will make great citizens over time.
Great citizens. Well, now we got a National Guardsman dead, another one whose life will never be the same. I don't call that great citizens. We know nothing about these people. We don't even have a good, accurate total of how many were let in. We do know they weren't vetted properly when they came here. Now, John Kirby over the former Biden administration, he said he even admitted that. Well, there was no way to vet all of them, and most of the vetting took place once they were on our soil and blah, 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 blah. So now I want you to listen to what Benny Thompson said. They had a hearing today about President Trump using the National Guard here in the United States. I want you to listen to what Benny Thompson said, and just let this sink in for a minute.
What you did. Madam Secretary, you and the gentleman from NCTC reference the unfortunate accident that occurred with the National Guardsman.
I'm sorry, what was it? I'm sorry, what did you just say, Benny Thompson?
The unfortunate accident that occurred with the National Guardsman.
Let's listen to that again.
Unfortunate accident that occurred with the National Guardsman.
An unfortunate accident. Accidents happen, right? It was an unfortunate accident, according to Benny Thompson. Now, remember, Benny Thompson was on the J6 committee. He was one of those people, along with Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger. An unfortunate accident. That's what it was. Well, Kristi Noem was having none of that.
The unfortunate accident that occurred with the National Guardsman being killed.
You think that was an unfortunate accident?
I mean,
it was a terrorist attack.
Wait. Look, I'll get it straight. Then you can
He shot our National Guardsman in the head.
Look, Mr. Chairman, will you direct the witness to allow me to ask my question? It was an unfortunate situation, what you did.
Can I ask the question? Can I just ask the question of you? What was the question? It doesn't matter what the question is. Once you consider the assassination, the terroristic attack on two National Guardsmen, I don't give a rat's red rump what your question is. This man is, oh my gosh. Well, he's probably the worst, but right up there is one Tammy Duckworth. Let's listen to what she said.
So there was no rioting in Chicago before ICE was sent in. And for the past 2 months, Illinoisans have seen DHS federal agents abusing our communities. President Trump wanted to put our troops in the middle of it. The courts have stopped him so far, and the courts are finding again and again that there is no legal reason for what he is doing. But in his ideal world, Trump wants our professional military to defend unprofessional and abusive federal law enforcement agents. So let me tell you what is happening in Chicago. It is not ICE agents that are being attacked.
So ICE agents aren't being attacked. First of all, that's a big fat lie. Attacks against ICE agents have increased over 1,000%. Over 1,000%. And then she called our ICE agents unprofessional and abusive. Now, this is Tammy Duckworth. This is the same woman that just a few days ago on CNN, they were asking her about the bombing of the drug boat. And she said she'd seen the video, and it was horrific. It was awful. Like, oh, it was awful. And then I think it was Dana Bash that said, but have you seen the unclassified or the classified video? And she had to admit, no, I hadn't seen that video. So she really had no idea what she was talking about. You see, they love the criminals. Benny Thompson, to call this, but what are they going to say about the Charlie Kirk assassination? That was an unfortunate accident. What are they going to talk about Donald Trump being shot in Butler, Pennsylvania? Oh, that was an unfortunate accident. Well, JFK must have been an unfortunate accident. Abraham Lincoln, that had to be an unfortunate accident. Martin Luther King Jr., unfortunate accident. Robert Kennedy, unfortunate accident. Look at how many unfortunate accidents we've had in this country. These people literally are the lowest of the low. I would call them scum, but you know what they are? They're the stuff that scum wipes off their shoes. That's how low they are. Unfortunate accident. This guy should resign. Tammy Duckworth should resign. Now, they're calling for Kristi Noem to resign. Why? Because something's being done. Something's being done about crime in Chicago. And something needs to be done about crime in Chicago because it is rampant. Year to date, there have been 348 people shot and killed. Shot and wounded, 1,525. Total shot, 1,873. Total homicides, 414. That's over one a day. But they don't want you to know that. When we get back, is Jasmine Crockett running for Senate because some Republicans put her up to it? Interesting theory coming up. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WRD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Hitting truth bombs longer than he drives off the tee. It's the Charlie James Show.
News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Hey, Charlie.
Let's talk.
It's the right talk. Charlie? Welcome. This is the Charlie James Show.
Now we're talking.
News Talk 98.9.
WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Oh, beautiful for spacious skies, for amber waves of grain, for purple mountain majesties above the fruited plain. America, America, God shed his grace on thee and crown thy good with brotherhood from sea to shining sea.
America is back.
Yes, sir, and we are back. Thank you so much for tuning in this afternoon. All right, so question. You guys that have been here for a little while, do you remember Alvin Green back in 2010? So if you folks that don't remember, Alvin Green was a Democrat who was running to be senator of South Carolina. And this guy literally came out of nowhere, no experience, lived at home with mom. He was an Army vet, went to University of South Carolina, is from Florence, and but no political experience whatsoever. So all of a sudden, as if out of nowhere, this virtual unknown in Alvin Green became the Democrat candidate for Senate here in South Carolina. Let me tell you something. That was fun talk radio back then. That was a lot of fun. Alvin Green had a plan to reduce the deficit in this country. And his big plan, I'm not lying about this whatsoever. This was an actual plan by Alvin Green to reduce the deficit. He said they should make Alvin Green action figures and sell them, and the proceeds would go to pay down the deficit. Let me tell you something. I would love to have me an Alvin Green action figure. I really, really would. But the big stink about that was that actually the South Carolina GOP and rumors, nothing's been verified, and the Jim DeMint campaign, they were actually the ones that were encouraging Alvin Green to win, kind of surreptitiously. They were kind of helping Alvin Green out so that he would win the Democrat primary. And if that was the tactic, you got to admit it worked pretty darn well. But it was so entertaining. It really, really was amazing to sit back and watch. But could that be the same thing that's going on with Jasmine Crockett? We know she officially launched her campaign on Monday, and it looks like Republicans may have played a major role in that happening. So what happened was they were looking at all of this polling, right? Back in June, we got the news that Democrats, Colin Allred, James Tallarico, former Representative Beto O'Rourke, and Joaquin Castro were discussing getting in this Senate race in Texas. So the folks at the NRSC, they started looking at some of these polling numbers, and they said, wait a minute, something's missing, or someone is missing here. It's Jasmine Crockett. She's from Texas. And they got this idea. They said, hey, let's start including her in some of this polling and just see what happens. So they put Jasmine Crockett, started putting her on these polls, and they started including Jasmine Crockett, and they showed that actually she was polling better than all of these people: Colin Allred, James Tallarico, Beto O'Rourke, Joaquin Castro. Jasmine Crockett was polling higher than those folks. So they started kind of pushing these polls out there. They were amplifying them, and they were orchestrating the pile of those polling numbers to really drive the news cycle and the narrative that Jasmine Crockett was surging in Texas. So they were leaking this. They were leaking this internal poll numbers, and all of a sudden, and the mainstream media took the bait. I mean, that rod tip bent, and they were like, all right, we got you snagged now. So then the mainstream media started reporting about how Jasmine Crockett is is surging in the polls. So the NRSC operatives built an entire ecosystem around this. It was called an AstroTurf recruitment process. And they were, quote, seeding the new polls pretty aggressively into progressive digital spaces. They even coordinated text messages and phone calls to Democrat activists, urging them to call Crockett's office and push her to run. Each round of organized encouragement added to the illusion of an organic Crockett movement. A small feedback loop started to operate. Meanwhile, internal GOP numbers showed that Cornyn was trailing Attorney General Ken Paxton badly in a three-way primary that also included Wesley Hunt. Paxton polled as a general election liability. Hunt was ready for a statewide fight. The GOP couldn't afford to risk a damaged nominee in a cycle where the Democrats had real contenders. This is from the Liberty Daily. So national Republicans recalibrated. If their incumbent had vulnerabilities, they could balance the math by softening up the other side. That meant turning Jasmine Crockett into the presumptive Democrat frontrunner. She was tailor-made for the part Republicans wanted cast, a polarizing progressive who would turn off swing voters in a Texas general election. Then the miracle happened. Allred, who was once the strongest Democrat in the field, dropped out of the race in order to run for the House. So he basically gave up and gave all the power to Jasmine Crockett, who announced her candidacy that very same day. So we will see what happens with this, but could Jasmine Crockett be the next Alvin Green? We'll see. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WRD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Honest views, trusted news. This is the Charlie James Show
on News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
one number does it all.
800-905-0989.
This is the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
You know, it's kind of amazing the things you can do, or let me rephrase that, things you can't do that some entities can do. Did you know it's illegal for you to go out and start a pyramid scheme? It's illegal for you to do that. You cannot do. Ask Bernie Madoff. Bernie Madoff went to jail for the big Ponzi scheme, the pyramid scheme that he had going on. But if you really look at it and you really boil it down to all the parts, isn't that what insurance is? Isn't insurance just one giant pyramid scheme? You get all of these people paying into insurance that don't use it, but that money still goes in every month, and they're at the very bottom of the pyramid, and the people up at the top that use it, they're the ones that get your money. Meanwhile, where does your money go? If you took, I mean, this is what the Republicans tried to do today, and I was just shocked this bill didn't pass, he said sarcastically. So what they said is what we need to do is we need to give you tax credits, and you put money in your own health savings account. Now, I'll be honest with you. I got a fairly high deductible. High insurance all the way around, but got a fairly high deductible. And my wife and I keep money aside just for that deductible, make sure that's paid. But if I just took that money that we have for the deductible and all the money that we pay every month into our insurance, and I put that into some sort of an interest-bearing savings account, you know, you can get some people paying you 4%, 3.75, something like it's something, right? Then that money would actually grow for the few times that I actually use it. I mean, if when I had my eye surgery, it was a weird thing. I had my eye surgery. I had a weird blood vessel in my eye, and my eye was filling up with blood. I could have gone blind. It was kind of scary there for a while. In the left eye. So I went in and had my laser surgery, and they took care of all that really well at Southern Eye Center. So you go in, and that barely covered my deductible. All of that we had just barely, I mean, I had to pay most of that out of pocket because of the deductible. And then the weird thing was there were certain procedures that they did in order to save the sight in my left eye that my insurance company said, yeah, we don't cover that. Well, why not? My doctor, you know, the guy that went to school for 100 years to learn this stuff about eyes, he says it's necessary. Yeah, but you see, we don't think that's necessary. You see what I mean? It really is. When you look at how the insurance companies are run, it's crazy. They literally, and not just medical insurance, all insurance companies, they rule the world. If you go to the hospital, it's no longer the doctor that decides how long you're in the hospital. It's their insurance companies. They decide. If the doctor says, well, you probably need to be here for a week, but the insurance company says you only need to be there 3 days, guess how long you're staying? 3 days. And you're out of there. So, yeah, they do. But anyway, it's just been a big pyramid scheme. And Obamacare, the so-called Affordable Care Act, was the biggest pyramid scheme of all time. Even the Democrats admitted that they were relying on young people, young, healthy people, to go out and buy all of this insurance. Well, guess who didn't do that? Young, healthy people. So because the plan was built on this pyramid scheme, it collapsed. And it was really designed to collapse. That was the whole thing behind it. And a lot of people say, and truthfully, that it was designed to collapse so that they could usher in single-payer health care or socialized medicine. Well, now it is collapsing. And now the Democrats are calling for socialized medicine, in the form of all of these subsidies that are going on. Now, if something is affordable, it doesn't need to be subsidized. It doesn't need taxpayer dollars. And remember this. Remember when Obama was saying that Obamacare was not a tax. Obamacare was not a tax. And then John Roberts, Chief Justice John Roberts said, so they took it to the Supreme Court. And John Roberts said, well, you know, if it's a mandate. Now, remember the Obama administration, this is not a tax. This is not a tax. It's just not a tax. So John Roberts said, if it's a mandate, it's unconstitutional. Well, Obama immediately changed his tune and said, oh, no, it's a tax. Now, I don't remember any member of Congress voting for that tax. Well, that was 15 years ago, and the cow's already out of the barn. So now it's designed to collapse. And, of course, when you get something that big, there's going to be corruption. I want you to listen to Mike Johnson.
A new report by the Government Accountability Office, which I haven't seen too much written about yet, you should look into that. It is an eye-opener as well. It makes clear why it would be a dereliction of duty to just extend subsidies without massive reforms to them. Okay, over the last 2 years, this is investigators at the Government Accountability Office. Okay, they submitted 24 fraudulent applications for the ACA subsidies, the Unaffordable Care Act subsidies, Obamacare. Okay, of the 24 fraudulent applications that they created intentionally to just see what would happen, 23 of them were approved. These applications were completely fraudulent. The investigators did not submit any Social Security numbers, citizenship documentation, or reported income documents. And 23 of the 24 applications were still approved. 18 of those, by the way, are still receiving coverages they were as of September of this year. That means the Obamacare exchange and insurers didn't verify any of the information they're supposed to under the law, and they proceeded to pay tens of thousands of dollars to insurance companies for people who do not exist. Okay? The GAO report also found that 29,000 Social Security numbers in 2023 and 68,000 in 2024 were used to receive more than 1 year's worth of insurance coverage. In other words, multiple people were utilizing the same Social Security numbers to openly defraud the American taxpayers.
So the GAO did a tiger strike against Obamacare. And they sent in 24 fraudulent Obamacare applications, and they approved 23 of them. And then we heard that 68,000 Obamacare exchange and insurers verified nothing, kept paying out tens of thousands of taxpayer dollars to people who don't exist. And dead people. Multiple people using the same Social Security numbers, all of that meant to defraud you and me. When we get back, Kilmar Abrego Garcia is back in the news. You won't believe this. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WRD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Streaming stimulating talk and breaking news on your phone 24/7 on the Odyssey app. You're on the drive with the Charlie James Show.
News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
Charlie Speaks. You listen on your time. Get the show on demand. Text podcast to 800-905-0989. The Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
And welcome back. The Maryland man, the Maryland dad, the wonderful citizen, good member of society, Kilmar Abrego Garcia, is back in the news, ladies and gentlemen. I want you to take a listen to this. This is Caroline Leavitt at the White House. No, I'm sorry. This is Pam Bondi. Here she goes.
Co-conspirator alleged that the defendant solicited nude photographs and videos of a minor. A co-conspirator also alleges the defendant played a role in the murder of a rival gang member's. Co-conspirator alleged that the defendant solicited nude photographs and videos of a minor.
Yeah, that's the wonderful Maryland man, ladies and gentlemen. Abrego Garcia. A judge in Maryland has just illegally released Kilmar Abrego Garcia. A grand jury found that he solicited nude pictures and videos of a child and engaged in murdering a rival MS-13 gang member. But for some reason, he has become a favorite of the Democrat Party. They love him. Remember when that one congressman went down and visited him in jail? Had a little margarita on the table. What is it about this man that they just absolutely love? An activist judge has ordered the release of MS-13 gang member and wife beater. Let's not forget that. Not only did he have pictures of an underage individual, not only was he implicated in the murder of an MS-13 gang member, but also he is a spouse abuser. Boy, the awfuls out there, they ought to be raising Cain against this. I mean, this is a bad guy. This is somebody that they should want to be deported, but they don't. You see, the awfuls, they don't care about what they say they care about. They only care about their ideology. And their ideology is that everybody deserves it. What do they call it? Civic nationalism. That's the term for it. Everybody belongs here. Oh, Charlie, everybody belongs here, Charlie. Everybody does. Everybody needs to have a... Oh, really? Everybody? Hey, everybody? So a federal judge today ordered the release of MS-13 gang member Kilmar Abrego Garcia. This is from the Gateway Pundit. U.S. District Judge Paula Zinnes, an Obama appointee in Maryland, ordered the immediate release of Garcia, arguing that he had been detained without lawful authority. Since Abrego Garcia's return from wrongful detention in El Salvador, he has been redetained again without lawful authority, the judge wrote. For this reason, the court will grant Abrego Garcia's petition for immediate release from ICE custody. Abrego Garcia, an illegal alien, residing in Maryland when he was deported to his home country of El Salvador earlier this year and placed in the notorious Secot prison. But the radical left-wing judges ordered him to be returned to the United States. He's a wife beater, a gang member, been previously ordered to be deported by an immigration judge, but he was not to be sent to his home country of El Salvador. So the Trump administration decided to potentially send him to Africa. So he put up a legal fight. He said, I fear persecution in Uganda on account of my race, nationality, political opinion, and membership in a particular social group. Social group? Could that possibly be MS-13? Yeah. I also fear torture by or at the acquiescence of a public official in that country. Now, let me explain something to you. I will guarantee you that Kilmar Abrego Garcia does not know the meaning of the word acquiescence. So this statement was written by some liberal lawyer. Judge Zinnes is overseeing a civil habeas corpus case in Maryland brought by Abrego Garcia's wife, the woman who he beat, I guess. Abrego Garcia is fighting a separate federal criminal case in Tennessee after a grand jury indicted him on human trafficking charges. Remember the video of Abrego Garcia and another female, in a van packed with a whole bunch of people that couldn't speak the language? Yeah, he was human trafficking. Over the summer, a federal grand jury in Tennessee indicted Kilmar Abrego Garcia for transporting undocumented migrants within the United States. He was charged with 1 count of conspiracy to transport aliens and 1 count of unlawful transportation of undocumented aliens. But he is literally the darling of the left. Literally the darling of the left. And for some reason, I can't. I can't understand why. Charlie, I thought he was an MS-13. Yeah, well, that's what the Democrats want you to believe. They want you to think he's just a normal, hardworking American, keeps his nose clean, pays his taxes, obeys the law. He probably goes to PTA meetings, according to them. He's probably a member of a book club somewhere, active in his HOA. But that's not the actual Abrego Garcia. The Abrego Garcia, the real one, the one that the Democrats don't want you to know about, he's a criminal. A lot of these people are criminals, and they all need to be deported. So the big question is, why are they so literally hell-bent on protecting these people? Well, we told you about that yesterday. When you look at everything through the lens of destroying America, then you'll understand why. When the ultimate goal is the downfall of this country, and to use the Cloward-Piven strategy to usher in Marxism in this country, then everything becomes clear. Everything starts to become clear. That's what they want. They literally hate this country. I mean, if they didn't hate this country, then Benny Thompson wouldn't use words, like an unfortunate accident that took the life of one of our National Guardsmen and grievously wounded another. Who do we have here, JJ? Let's go to Walter. Walter and Anderson. How you doing, Walter?
Fine. Charlie, how are you doing today?
I'm great, buddy. What's up?
It's still nobody's went to jail except the poor little old pole lady in Colorado.
Yeah,
and apparently
right?
they're abusing the crap out of her. But
Yeah.
still, no one's going to jail.
Yeah.
We're finding more corruption, more criminal activity, and the criminals are being let loose. It's insane, Charlie. What
I
are
understand.
we gonna do?
I understand. And I know that's probably the most frustrating thing when we hear about all of this fraud and abuse that's going on and nobody's in handcuffs. I mean, that's
No, they're not. It's crazy what's going on.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, you're right,
what are we
Walter.
supposed to do?
I don't know, man.
But thank you, Charlie.
I appreciate it, buddy. Thank you. I wish I had an answer for you. When we get back, did you know that something else happened in the House today? Yeah, it was another Alvin Green, Al Green this time, that brought something up. We'll tell you what it was. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WRD, the voice of the Carolinas.
15 minutes of breaking news and stimulating talk begins every hour on The Charlie James Show. Afternoons 3 to 7 on News Talk 98.9.
WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Tap and type your message on the Common Sense Retirement Planning text line.
800-905-0989. This is the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
I want to thank a texter for this idea, because we know the Democrats love Kilmar Abrego Garcia, but all it would really take would be for Trump to get on television and say something like, "I completely agree with releasing Kilmar Abrego Garcia. I really do. I think it's a wonderful thing. This guy was able to go in and help us take hundreds of illegal aliens off the streets of Chicago and Maryland and Baltimore. He was instrumental in all that we were doing with ICE." And the Democrats would turn on him in a heartbeat. Kilmar Abrego. In fact, I'm thinking about giving him the Presidential Medal of Freedom. They would turn on him in a heartbeat. They'd be calling for him to be removed from this country forthwith. Oh, look at Trump. He's supporting a wife beater. Look at the Democrats. They're supporting a wife beater. Look at the Democrats. They're supporting a human trafficker. Look at the Democrats. They're supporting a pedophile. That's all you would hear from them. Well, today, a progressive and that's not even necessary to say anymore, is it? Progressive Democrat? We just call him Marxist. A Marxist attempted to impeach President Donald Trump. That's right, it happened today, using the procedural vehicle of privilege resolution to force a vote on his 2 articles of impeachment. Democrat representative and the ugliest man in America, Al Green of Texas, saw his latest effort to impeach Donald Trump fail miserably. 70 members of his own party failed to support him, that is according to The Hill, in a 237 to 140 vote to table Green's impeachment resolutions. 47 Democrats voted present, while 23 Democrats voted in favor of tabling the proposal. One count Green filed claimed that Trump called for the execution of Democratic members of Congress who took to social media to urge military members to disobey unlawful orders. The second claimed that Trump fostered a political climate in which lawmakers and judges face threats of political violence and physical assault, and in this climate has made threats and vituperative comments against federal judges, putting at risk their safety and well-being and undermining the independence of our judiciary. They tabled the motion. House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, House Minority Whip Catherine Clark, and House Democrat Caucus Chair Pete Aguilar issued a pre-vote statement saying that they would vote present on this resolution. Impeachment is a sacred constitutional vehicle designed to, I'm kind of surprised about this. I really am. Impeachment is a sacred constitutional vehicle designed to hold a corrupt executive accountable for the abuse of power, breaking the law, and violating the public trust, they said. Interesting. The effort traditionally requires a comprehensive investigative process, the collection and the review of thousands of documents, and exacting scrutiny of the facts, the examination of dozens of key witnesses, congressional hearings, sustained public organization, and the marshaling of forces of democracy to build broad national consensus. I don't remember them doing that during their first Trump administration. Providing political context for the vote, Politico noted that Democrats were largely loath to advance a vote that's tough for a purple district lawmaker and is doomed to fail in the Republican-controlled Senate. Now, let me tell you what would happen if the Democrats controlled the House and the Senate. There would be impeachment proceedings against Donald Trump today. There would be no other news. There would be no other news whatsoever. In fact, it would have taken place long before today. But by the grace of God, the Republicans control the House and the Senate. So this is going nowhere. But if the Democrats get in the midterms, you are going to see impeachment after impeachment after impeachment. It's going to be hard to do in the Senate. It's going to be hard to get a conviction in the Senate. Because you see, in the House, that's like an indictment. So we've indicted you for whatever your alleged crime is. And then it goes to the Senate. That's your jury. It's going to be hard to get 2/3 of the Senate to come along and vote for impeachment of Donald Trump. But by golly, don't put it past the Democrats. Because if they do get in control, that's why these midterms are so important, and everybody needs to get out and vote, not only in the primaries, but in the general election, in the midterms, which is, by the way, historically been the time that the party in the White House loses seats, and it could happen again this year. It is very important for you guys to get out there and vote. Again, not only the primary, but also the general election. Speaking of votes, you need to make sure that you get out and vote for a couple of elections that we have going on here locally. I mean, we've got, Senate seat District 1, House District 12. You need to get out there and vote. Early voting stops tomorrow. Early voting goes on through the 19th. Mail-in voting, not mail-in, sorry, absentee ballots can be requested up until 5:30 tomorrow afternoon. While you're out doing your shopping, stop by McAllister Square, right there in the back. They've got the early voting place there. Go and vote. This is going, because Lee Bright actually has a write-in candidate from the Democrats. Now, this election is going to be held on December the 23rd. Wouldn't you hate to wake up on Christmas Eve and find out that a Democrat had won that state Senate seat or that state House seat? Well, if you don't go and vote, that could very well happen. Well, as we have to say, alleged shooter of Charlie Kirk appeared in court today. We'll kind of tell you a little bit about what's going on. And there's something else that I've been watching pretty closely over the past, couple of weeks that I really would like your opinion on, and it has to do with podcasters. All right? We'll see what happens with this. I'll be honest with you, I have no idea which direction the next segment is going to go, but we'll see. All right? We'll be right back. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
15 minutes of nonstop breaking news and stimulating talk jumpstarts every hour on the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9
WORD,
the voice of the Carolinas.
Hey, Charlie.
Let's talk.
It's the right talk. Charlie? Welcome. This is the Charlie James Show.
Now we're talking.
News Talk 98.9,
WORD.
the voice of the Carolinas.
And welcome back to the program. Let's go to the WRD talk line, and we'll talk to Jeff in Greenville. Jeff, welcome. How are you?
Yeah, great. Hey, Charlie.
Yes, sir.
I really liked what you were saying about insurance about maybe 30, 40 minutes ago.
Uh-huh.
You know, I knew these principles way back, fortunately, when I was just in my late teens. I'm now almost 70 years old, and I knew to not buy any insurance. Homeowners, health insurance, life insurance, none of it.
Right.
And I took all of that extra cash, and even some employers even upped my paycheck because they didn't I didn't buy the insurance.
Right.
And you know what? Never made more than between $3 and $12, $15 an hour my whole life. 25 household income less than 40,000. We may now make 4 times that without even leaving the house from the stock market. We put all of that money into stock growth funds and that sort of thing, getting not just 3% in the bank, getting 9, 10, 12% a year, compounded for 40-some years, almost 50 years since I was 16, we started working.
Wow.
I'm now a multimillionaire. Never made more than $40,000.
Good for you.
Investing all of what would have been wasted on insurance premiums.
Yeah, good
and
for
I think
you.
Americans need to think about this.
You know what, Jeff? Wouldn't it be neat if they just taught stuff like that in school?
Well, they don't want to.
Yeah.
You know, the public schools don't.
Sure.
They don't want to give that information.
Exactly right. Exactly right. Because you are an independent.
The old line of insurance is
you've got
1% of people, 1% need it, 99% pay.
Yeah, and you've got walk-away money. You don't have to put up with anything from anybody, Jeff. That is great. I love stories like that. I really do. Well, Tyler Robinson, the alleged, have to say that, assassin of Charlie Kirk was in court today. Listen to this from Fox News.
Being delivered to this courthouse. Some of the doors are zip-tied, so all types of measures being taken to make sure that this proceeding happens safely and securely today. Now, on the docket today, perhaps one of the most important issues, there was an October 24th hearing in which Judge Graff determined Robinson will be allowed to wear civilian clothing in court, as you see on your screen right now, but he has to remain shackled. Now, also in that October 24th hearing, general security measures and other issues of fairness in this trial were discussed in a closed portion.
Okay, so, I mean, even his family couldn't be in that closed portion of the session. But let me just say this. For somebody that is facing, well, first of all, for somebody that is potentially one of the most hated men in America, and for someone who is facing the death penalty, potentially by firing squad, he seemed very at ease. He seemed almost at times to be lighthearted. I don't know how this trial is going to go, but what is there's been something that I don't want to say I've been hesitant to talk about. I just have sat back and watched over the past few weeks, especially. Sat back and watched. And what I'm finding really disgusting is how many people are trying to make money off of Charlie Kirk's assassination. And they are trying very hard. And I think the biggest culprit, and this might make some of y'all mad, but I'm going to have to deal with that. I believe the biggest, most disgusting culprit of this has been Candace Owens. Candace Owens' actions since the murder of Charlie Kirk have been nothing short of vile. And why people continue to listen and give this woman any credence whatsoever is beyond me. And I'll give you a perfect example. Candace Owens said on her show that she saw video. She was first out with all of the conspiracy theories. No, somebody shot him from a trap door under the stage. No, I have seen video. Charlie Kirk was shot from behind. I saw the video. There it was. Charlie Kirk was shot from behind. And then she came out and admitted, no, he was shot from the front at an elevated position. No, it would have taken Spider-Man to get on top of that roof. No, it wouldn't have. There's stairs. Oh, and all of this stuff. She has blamed everybody for Charlie Kirk's shooting. She has implied that the federal government had something to do with it. She's implied that the Jews had something to do with it. She's implied that Turning Point USA had something to do with it. She has implied that Charlie Kirk's friends had something to do with it. She has implied that Erica Kirk had something to do with it because she had a dream about bees. This woman has become completely unhinged. And again, why people are still listening to her? She says she's got all of this evidence. Oh, and now she's the victim. Now the government of France is plotting to have her assassinated. So she said she sent a message, an email to the State Department, and they received her. They sent her back a message saying that we have received your email. Turns out it wasn't an email. It was a text. It wasn't a text to the State Department. It was somebody that she knew in government. And it wasn't a reply to her text. It was actually a read notification. So the person just read it. And Candace Owens, what she's really, really mad about, in my opinion, is the fact that she was not picked to be the CEO of Turning Point USA. She's mad at Erica Kirk because Erica Kirk did not grieve the way that Candace Owens wanted her to grieve. That Erica Kirk has not spoken out in the way that Candace Owens wants Erica Kirk to speak out. She has lied and lied and lied. And she always says she has evidence. But that evidence is always coming. I'm going to have the evidence. I've got the receipts. But if you notice something, she hasn't shown anything. There has been no evidence of what she's been saying. So then she said that the only two people that could get her to stop talking about this would be Charlie Kirk, who can't, and Erica Kirk. So Erica Kirk went on Fox News the other day, I believe it was yesterday, and she said, stop. Everybody stop. Did Candace Owens stop? No, she did not. And she will not. Because Candace Owens is making way too much money off of that podcast and off of these episodes that she's putting in there to ever stop. Now she's even criticizing or questioning Erica Kirk's motives. So then she said that she would debate Turning Point USA. Her words, any place, anytime. Let's debate any place, anytime. You pick, I will be there. Well, Turning Point USA said, okay, here's the place, here's the time. Oh, yeah, I can't do that. Wait a minute, exactly what does any place, any time mean? She is out, and I warned people about her, had to be a year ago, when I noticed that all of a sudden Candace Owens was feuding with everybody. She was feuding with Steven Crowder. She was feuding with all of these people. And when you find one person feuding with all of these people, please understand that person is the problem. I'd like to know what you think about it. Give me a call, 800-9050-989. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WRD, the voice of the Carolinas.
When he's not mowing his yard, he's mowing down liberal nonsense. It's the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9
WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
800-980-9889. Save it on your phone.
This is the Charlie James Show, only on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
And welcome back to the program. Let's go to the WRD talk line. We'll talk to Karen up in Columbus, North Carolina. How you doing, Karen?
I'm doing great. How are you, Charlie?
I'm great, ma'am. What's on your mind?
Merry Christmas to everybody.
Yeah, you too.
Yes. I'm a fellow Georgian. I'm from Gainesville, Georgia, but
All right.
I'm a transplant to North Carolina.
Okay.
And the Candace Owens situation, I was a fan of hers, and it breaks my heart to see her exposing, and I don't know what became of her, but she has a cross. I don't watch her anymore.
Yeah.
I used to watch her. I used to watch her on a thing called Rumble, and I wish you were on there because Tara's on there, and I wish you were on there too. So maybe you consider that. But anyway,
okay.
This female is a narcissist, is what she is, and she's gotten deep into the weeds, and I think she's a scorned woman.
I do too. Yeah.
I think she loves Charlie. And Charlie went and married this Erica.
Yeah.
And then she turned around right after that and married this Englishman.
After 17 days, knew him for 17 days.
Charlie married his wife.
Yeah, that's true. It was
after
pretty
too,
quick.
so-
Yeah.
And so, Candace followed suit. But anyway, getting back to the narcissism.
Yeah.
And money, of course, greed. But the thing is, I followed her, and she had me hook, line, and sinker when she did the George Floyd investigation, which was truthful.
Mm-hmm.
She did the, what's his name, the Manuel Macron. Well, that was already proved. She has the guy, and that is truthful. Sorry to say, but that's a woman, that's a man.
Okay.
And so she had us all believing that everything she says is truthful. But she's got this cross behind her, yet you don't, and she's Catholic. She hasn't done an investigation on the pedophiles, and the Vatican yet. So why doesn't she do that?
You know, it gets me, Karen. She is now claiming that Charlie Kirk was a Catholic and that he was buried, and they had a full Catholic mass, and he was buried in a Catholic cemetery, and there's no evidence of that whatsoever. And then she's even questioning why his place that he was buried is being kept secret.
I know, it's pathetic. It's just pathetic.
It really is unbelievable. Karen, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. But what really got me was the other day when Candace Owens was reading some old text messages from Charlie Kirk. And this was before Charlie had met Erica, right? Now, Charlie loved Erica. From everything that we've seen and everything that we have read, Charlie and Erica were madly in love with each other. So why would this woman come out and start reading text about other women that Charlie dated? When she knew, well, I think she did it for a reason, because she knew Erica Kirk was going to hear about that. And moreover, she knew that Charlie's children were going to read that. Nobody does that. Nobody does that. Have you ever been to somebody's funeral? When the grieving widow was sitting in the front row? Have you ever heard somebody get up there and talk about the other women that the deceased had been in love with or dated? No, nobody does that. Nobody does that but Candace. She got on and did it. So, hey, Charlie, didn't Candace denounce Christianity? Now, I don't know. That I don't know. Charlie, extremely humorous for a boomer to talk about greed and someone being a narcissist. 662 sounds like you've got some sort of an axe to grind. Are you a victim? Poor little baby. Charlie, you are not listening to Candace. No, apparently you're not listening to Candace. Because Candace is exposing herself. I mean, listen, when the woman lied to you that she had seen a video that showed that Charlie Kirk was shot from behind and that the wound was an exit wound, and then comes along a week, 10 days later and says, no, he was shot from the front. But she had seen the video. She swore that she saw the video. She swore that happened. But then she comes along and changes. So how long? How long? Charlie, I've also been to funerals, and the entire time everyone's wondering how the person died, the circumstances surrounding their death, everything about it. So, yes, people have the right to question his death. Okay, fine, question it. But how many people has she blamed for it? I just read you a list, an exhaustive list of all the people that Candace Owens has said. I mean, really? Accusing Charlie Kirk's friends of okaying his assassination? Even calling it regicide? She even said the feds had something to do with it. Yeah, the federal government, because once they, her words, once they give you a holiday or they name a street after you, that's how they sign off on your execution. She said that. Now, again, you guys want to keep listening to all that BS that she is spewing? You go right ahead. But you will find out just what an absolute grifter she is. Absolutely. So, no. There you go. So, all right, WRD Talk Line, 800-9050-989. That's also the Common Sense Retirement Planning text line. If you would like to email me, I'm always at charlie@989WORD. When we get back, yes, we boarded and apprehended a Venezuelan oil tanker, and the ladies on The View just can't get over it. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WRD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Streaming stimulating talk and breaking news on your phone 24/7 on the Odyssey app. You're on the drive with the Charlie James Show.
News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas. Interact on the Common Sense Retirement Planning text line.
800-905-0989. Text or call. One number does it all.
800-905-0989.
This is the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
So, the United States Coast Guard, and with help from the Navy, of course, seized an oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela. I think this thing had like 1.1 million barrels of oil on it, something like that, some astronomical amount of oil. And immediately, the liberals lost their ever-loving minds. And no one more so than the biddies over on The View. I want you to listen to the ladies on The View talking about it. Here we go.
Just follow the tanker.
You know, he was the original Size Matters guy, you know?
Yeah, you know, I don't understand. I mean, okay, he sees the tanker. What is it really? What is this really? Is this more, let's not talk about Epstein? Is this let's not talk about Hegseth? What is this? Because
remember the movie?
What happens if the people who support Venezuela, like, I don't know,
like Venezuelans.
The Chinese get their oil from Venezuela, do
The
they
Russians.
not? Russians. So what happens if they get on the side of the Venezuelans and say, this is not right? What happens if there's retaliation? All these guys in power now seem to be living on bases.
Okay, so that was the great brain trust that is Whoopi Goldberg. Does she not realize that vessel was actually sanctioned by the Biden administration for selling to terrorist groups and flying false flags or trying to hide the fact that they were flying false flags? But no, it was the Epstein files. That's what it was. So even one of them had to probably painfully admit that the tanker was seized legally.
But this move specifically on this tanker might be a good thing. And I say that because my first reaction when Trump's involved in a lot of the people he puts in office, you're like, what the hell are they doing? There's no faith in the system. There's no transparency, especially after all these boats were attacked.
Yeah.
But this is supposedly, and I actually kind of deep dove into this topic about sanctioned oil. And it is diverting oil that could be going to China, Russia,
and Iran.
The European, Iran, who are not, they're adversarial nations to us. This is something the European Union has sanctions with them. Canada has sanctions. The U.S. has sanctions. They came in with a warrant on this ship. There was actually a warrant to go after this ship because what they're trying to do.
Quaint.
Well, no, but that you got to call them when they're
a federal
judge do it. When you look, when we criticize all
true.
the time about the illegal things, you got to call them. This was a legal seizure of an oil tanker,
and it absolutely was. But despite that, Sonny Hostin says that Trump is acting. You knew this was going to happen like a pirate.
Can I just say this, though, on the legal piece of it? It's unclear whether or not this was legal. A federal judge did issue this seizure warrant that you're referring to roughly about 2 weeks ago because this particular ship's past activity smuggling Iranian oil. And that oil is typically used to finance terrorist activity. So I understand that piece. But the piece that I don't understand is that the president of the United States is almost acting as if he's a pirate.
Now he's a pirate. So Whoopi Goldberg at the beginning asked, what is this all about? What is us blowing up drug running boats? What is us seizing sanctioned oil tankers? What is that all about? Well, it's not really about the oil, and it's not really about the drugs. It is, but there's more to it. I want you to listen to this guy, Stephen Eugene Kuhn, talk about it.
I talked about Venezuela the other day, and a lot of people came at me saying, hey, don't you realize this is about drugs, fentanyl, and cartels? Well, that's not the whole story, guys. That's what they want you to believe. People think Trump's down there to stop drugs from coming into America. That's part of it, but that's not the mission. Drugs are the smallest part of the operation. This isn't about fentanyl, cocaine, or heroin. This is about money, drug money. It doesn't just move through the cartels. It moves through private banks, family offices, offshore structures, investment vehicles. It props up commercial banks. It backstops liquidity. It keeps the entire globalist financial system breathing when it should have collapsed a long time ago. From the US to Europe to the Far East, trillions of dollars. That's the real infrastructure. And that is what Trump is targeting. That's why he isn't really targeting governments. He's targeting funding arteries. And that terrifies the globalists more than anything on earth. Because banker-run economies don't survive on real production. They survive on invisible money flows. And Trump is forcing a shift back to reality. Real goods, real sovereignty, real borders, and real industry. That leaves the financial parasites behind. And they know it.
And they know it. You see, while you see the war, so to speak, that Trump is fighting on the surface, and earlier today we talked about it like an iceberg. That's just the top 10%. This war that Trump's fighting against drugs, against, cartels, and that's just the top 10%. Underneath what he is doing is he is waging war against the world's globalists, the ones that look at supreme and ultimate power and control over you and your lifestyle. Yes, even us here in the United States of America, we are not immune to the globalist tactics that they use. I mean, all you got to do is look at the World Economic Forum, look at Klaus Schwab, look at Yuval Harari, who describes us as unnecessary eaters. Because they believe if you're not part of the elite, then you are unnecessary. And who gets to determine who the elite are? Well, they do, not you. So the World Economic Forum, their motto is, you'll own nothing and you'll be happy. Well, if you don't own it, who does? They do. And you simply rent from them. That's the ultimate goal of globalism. Complete and total control over you and your lifestyle. And that is the war, like I said, that Donald Trump is playing underneath the surface. He's not coming out and saying, we're going to war with all the globalists and we're going to shut them down economically. He's not saying that, but he is doing it, and he's using these drugs, he's using these sanctions, he's using these oil tankers to fight that war in cutting off their funding. That's what's got the globalists. Look at the people who are the most upset about this. Look at the ones that are the most upset. They're the ones that are in the pockets of the globalists. They are the ones. They do not want American sovereignty. They do not want freedom for the American citizen. They want chaos. They want to bring this country down to a point where the globalists can come in and take over by just purchasing everything. We'll be right back. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WRD, the voice of the Carolinas.
"15 minutes of breaking news and stimulating talk begins every hour, every afternoon on The Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
Charlie Speaks. You listen on your time. Get the show on demand. Text podcast to 800-905-0989. The Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
Well, I know this is going to shock you, but there was a bill today by the GOP that put their health care plan out there that would actually put money in your pocket instead of the pockets of the insurance companies. And are you ready? Are you ready for this? It failed. I know. I don't understand it either. I don't understand how John Thune could ever think that without doing away with the filibuster, a plan like this was going to pass, because it did not meet the 60 vote requirement to close debate. So it's just dead. It's just dead. But here's the thing. John Thune knew it wasn't going to pass. He knew he wasn't going to get those Democrats to come over on his side and vote with the Republicans. He knew that. But he wanted to have something to say that he actually tried to do something. Well, you see what we did? We tried. Those, doggone Democrats, they keep, oh, man, if there was only something we could do about it. If there was only something we could do about it. So that was the plan. That was the plan. To go along and have you open up health savings accounts and you be responsible for your own insurance. Now, for responsible people, that sounds like a good plan, because I pay a lot more in insurance every year than I spend. That is guaranteed. A lot more. And if I just took that money and I put it in some sort of a savings account that was drawing some sort of an interest, that would be A-okay with me. Just go in, give them your little card, and go about your business. But Thune knew this wasn't going to pass. He was absolutely sure. I want you to listen to Senator Ron Johnson talking about Obamacare.
First of all, Senator, I'm not sure if you heard from Senator Schumer, but I asked about the compromises that might be possible, a one-year extension of the Obamacare premiums with some of the things that Republicans have asked for, including means testing, reforms, a copay. He said Republicans would never sign off on any of that, and that Republicans are working on 100 different proposals, but none of them extend the Obamacare subsidies. Is that true?
Well, first of all, the Obamacare subsidies will continue. What we are talking about are the temporary COVID enhanced subsidies that Democrats voted for, the Democrats scheduled to expire at the end of this year. Republicans had nothing to do with that. This is all what Democrats did. We're not talking about anything that's going to impact people on employer-sponsored health care, Medicare, Medicaid, VA. We're talking about the supposedly 24 million people on the exchanges. The vast majority of those will just revert to the original Obamacare subsidies. If you don't like that, blame Obamacare, blame Democrats. We're talking about 1.6 million Americans who got a subsidy above 4% of poverty line. I would be happy to work with Democrat colleagues to do something with them temporarily in exchange for doing real reforms that might actually restrain the growth in health care.
And this is the thing, Ron Johnson. Democrats aren't going to work on real reform. They're not going to work on it, even though it has been broken for a long time. Since Obamacare rolled out in 2014, the 7 largest health insurers, listen to this, the 7 largest health insurers have tripled their revenues. They went from $511 billion to $1.5 trillion last year. So we all know who doesn't want Obamacare to go away. That's the insurance companies. But this thing is absolutely rife with fraud. Let's go to Cassandra in Greenville. Cassandra, welcome.
Hi, Charlie. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.
I've got to tell you, for eons, I've been, complaining, saying to my family, I don't know why we have insurance at all. We shouldn't have health insurance, because if we didn't, the beautiful capitalist system would allow doctors and hospitals to charge what the patients could pay. And it would all be less money, just like now they're selling veterinary insurance.
They'd have to compete.
Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. It's like all the prices you used to pay at the vet for your pets, you could handle, and now everything's jumped up so high because people are buying insurance.
Yeah.
And I just would like to hear you and your callers' views on the idea of eliminating insurance.
You know what?
Do you think it could still be done? I don't know.
You know, all right, I appreciate it, Cassandra, and I will address this. Insurance companies started out as a pretty good plan. It was a pretty good plan. But then, just like happens with everything else, the bean counters came in. And once the bean counters and the accountants take over the health insurance companies, then the whole face of insurance changed. Now it was all about making money, where before it was about providing a service. It went from providing a service to making, it went from there to the bottom line. And that bottom line has tripled over the past 14 years, or what, less than 14 years, since 2014. Now they're raking money in like crazy. Now you get less service for more money, and everything goes up because of it. I told you that great example of the old show 2020. They went in, they said they needed a wheelchair. I don't remember the actual numbers here, but say that the durable medical equipment company sold them a wheelchair for about $200 because they didn't have insurance. They went back a few days later. They said, I've got insurance. I need a wheelchair. Okay, it'll be $600. Why are things more expensive for people with insurance? Heard about over another story recently. A guy went in, had a little deal with his heart, or thought he did. Went in, got the EKG, got all of the tests, had about a $9,000 medical bill. But then he said, no, I don't have insurance. I'm going to pay cash. I'm going to take the cash option. Paid a little over $2,000. Is that built in? Is that built into this system so that you can keep paying for insurance, but when you go in, you go ahead and take the cash option anyway? Maybe so. Maybe so. That might be the big scam of health insurance. Why does a bag of saline at the hospital cost $700 when it only literally costs $2 to produce? What they're talking about isn't the cost of health care. They're talking about the cost of health insurance. What we really need to address is the cost of health care and how much these providers are charging for those services. That's the real scandal. But because all of these groups and organizations have very powerful lobbyists in Washington, D.C. and in Columbia, they'll never address that issue, because those are the people that they really represent. We'll be right back. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
This is Mark Levin. Join me tonight at 7 following Charlie James for the Mark Levin Show, a News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Hey, Charlie.
Let's talk.
It's the right talk.
Charlie?
Welcome. This is the Charlie James Show.
Now we're talking.
News Talk 98.9.
WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
Well, we have got some elections coming up, and believe it or not, it is going to be on the 23rd, the day before Christmas Eve. We've got State Senate District 12. Lee Bright is running for that office. We've got State House District 21. That's Diane Mitchell. And from what I'm hearing, and I've seen, this is absolutely the truth, the Democrats are trying to run a write-in campaign to unseat or to make sure that Lee Bright does not get this seat in Senate District 12. I would hate to wake up on Christmas Eve and find out that Lee Bright had lost that election because we were too busy to vote. Well, you got some time to get out there and do that. Early voting is going on right now. It's going to go on through the 19th. It's at McAllister Square, 225 South Pleasantburg Drive. Go to the back entrance. They've got an early voting spot there. Now, if you're needing an absentee ballot, you need to request that ballot by 5 o'clock tomorrow. That's for an absentee ballot. You need to get in touch with the Greenville County Voter Registration and Election Office at their absentee department. Request an application. That can be made right now through 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. After that, you're either going to have to early vote or you're going to have to go to the polls on December the 23rd. But again, the Democrats are going to be turning out for this election. They do not want Lee Bright. They do not want Diane Mitchell. You need to make sure that both of those people are in those seats, and we will have a merrier Christmas. Let's go to Susan in Greenville and talk to her. Susan, welcome.
Hey, how are you this evening?
I'm fantastic. What's on your mind?
Well, you were talking about the insurance plans, and I did this for many, many years, is I would have to wheel and deal these programs for a company with the insurance companies. And I'm just going to give you an example of how it worked. They would ask us, well, do you want the high amount? Do you want to cover the middle amount? Do you want to cover the low amount? And it depended on what state we were dealing with our employees.
Right.
So if they broke a leg, okay, they have no insurance, they would charge it. And I saw this. I kept asking this, how is this working? And they showed me the plan. $500 if you don't have insurance. Oh, you have your own personal private policy? Oh, it'll be $700 to set that leg.
Yeah.
Oh, you've got group medical? $1,000.
Wow.
Oh, you've got Medicaid? We'll cover $3,000. You've got Medicare? Oh, we'll cover $5,000. And that's how it broke down, and I saw it in writing.
That is so unbelievable that's even a thing. You see, we don't have what they're trying to solve in Congress is a health insurance problem, not a health care problem.
Exactly. And that's the issue. Why can't it be like you go to a store? This office is going to charge you $700. It doesn't matter. Just broker it out like you're going to do a store. Where are you going to go?
Right.
Shop for the cheapest place.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you
Make
can,
it up to me to choose.
if you can find a hospital that'll do a hip replacement for $10,000 other than $12,000, you would go to the other one, right?
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
And as long as you trust the doctors and things like that. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you, Susan. I want to go to Jeff in Hendersonville. How you doing, Jeff?
Hey, Charlie. Hope everything's all right on your Thursday night there.
Absolutely. You too, pal. What's going on?
Yeah. So, I mean, basically, I don't care if it's healthcare, health insurance, education, groceries, food production, energy production. It's government regulation and government subsidization.
Yeah.
Whatever they put their grubby mitts on, the quality goes down and the cost goes up.
That's
right. Because just like that example, I think her name was Susan, just gave you, no insurance, $500, but oh wait, you got Medicaid, $3,000.
Yeah.
Because the government will pay for it.
Right.
And so and it kills me. And example from my own personal life, my son had to do speech therapy when he was younger. He talked, he just couldn't understand anything he said.
Right.
And so, we went about 6 weeks. And it's like, we haven't paid a copay or anything. And they're like, let's see what's going on. And, oh, you owe $1,500 or $1,600. And we're like, whoa, wait, what's going on? And they said, yeah, so this type of therapy is not covered by your insurance, so it's $200 a week. And we're like, what if we don't have insurance? So they ticket tapped on their computer, $100 a visit.
Yeah.
Are you kidding me? That, if I came in here, no insurance, it's $100 a week for an hour. Or if I do have insurance, you bill my insurance $200. Well, my insurance doesn't cover it, so I pay the $200.
Right.
And it's insane, man.
It really
So,
is.
Government subsidization.
You're right. It never works, ever, ever, ever. I appreciate it, Jeff. And he's exactly right. I mean, and like I said, we've got both a health care, well, let me rephrase that. We've got an insurance problem and we've got a health care billing problem in this country. And you can go back and you could just look at the cost of education. To just give you a great example. So when we had remember the South Carolina Education Lottery? Now this is going to provide all this money for students to go to college. Well, as soon as we got that lottery, what did all our state institutions do? They raised their tuition because they knew the state was going to pay it. They're always out for the money. So now we got all these people that took out all of these ridiculous college loans. They can't afford to pay them back. Because why? Because I believe it was the colleges that said, well, here's the thing. If you take out a student loan, all right, the college is going to get their money. The government, or whoever the lending institution is, pays that college, so they don't care. They don't care what you do. They don't care if you can pay it back or not. They've got their cash. So you're stuck with this tuition bill, and now you want the government to pay for that as well. So the government has not only paid for your education, now you want the government to pay for the loan that you took out to get your education. But nobody will go to these colleges and say, hey, it's a little unaffordable to go to your college, Clemson. It's unaffordable for them to go to the University of South Carolina or Furman or Presbyterian or wherever it is. Can you guys just lower your tuition? Have you ever heard of a college making an announcement that, hey, you know what? In order to better serve our community, in order to better serve our state, we're going to reduce our college tuition across the board by 25%. Have you ever heard that? No. They're always asking for more because they know they'll get it. That's what happens when the government gets involved. So then the government got involved in health care. And we are in a huge debacle right now. I want to go to Billy in Greenville. Billy, welcome.
Hey, I had a knee surgery. I had a broke kneecap, and they fixed it and put me in physical therapy. They billed me for an hour of evaluation and 1 hour of physical therapy every time I went. But the funny part about it is I was only there for 1 hour.
Now, I'm sorry, say that again. What did they bill you for?
They billed me for a evaluation
Yeah.
for an hour, and then they billed me for an hour of physical therapy. And they
So
billed me
yeah.
for 2 hours, and I was only there 1 hour.
Yeah, I get it. Oh, they're going to get their chunk. They're going to get that chunk.
It was like $200, $300 an hour.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's amazing. And what gets me is like if you go to the hospital and the doctor comes in and checks on you, and then he goes and he shows your chart to another doctor. Hey, look at this. Look what's going on with this guy. Well, he gets paid too. Unbelievable. Let's go to Gene in Greenville. Let's just talk about these student loans for a second. What's going on, Gene?
Yeah, I might have made this comment a while back on your program. I'm not sure. I think that we ought to push for a position where the federal government is no longer in the student loan enterprise. Period. You're out, and
Yeah.
that's a matter that is
Yeah.
left to the states and to the school institutions. Let the schools provide the loan money.
Yeah, I agree. Oh,
Between
yeah.
the school,
Oh, boy.
and the student, and the government is out.
I agree. That's a great idea, Gene. I appreciate it, buddy. Thank you very much. All right, we'll take a quick break and be right back. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
When the left spins, Charlie sets it straight. It's the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9
WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Okay.
Let your fingers do the talking.
Text the Common Sense Retirement Planning text line at 800-905-0989.
This is the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
All right, I want to go to Dawn. She's driving down there in Columbia. She's got an expert opinion. What's going on, Dawn?
Hey there. I wanted to let your listeners know that when the Affordable Care Act was passed, there was a change made to HIPAA, as I understand it, and you are allowed to say, I don't want to use my insurance. Even if the provider has your current insurance on file,
Right.
you can say, okay, if the cash price or the self-pay rate is better than the insurance price, then I just want to pay the self-pay rate, and you're allowed to do that. You keep your insurance card in your pocket and just say, I'd rather pay the self-pay rate. You're allowed to do that. Now, does the provider want to admit that that's the case? Because they are under contract with the carrier, and the carrier wants to hold them, to an untenable situation that is essentially illegal. But you have to stand your ground, and you have to know what you're talking about. So have some talking points. Go read the Affordable Care Act, isolate that portion of the law, understand your rights under HIPAA, carry around a little piece of paper in your wallet that says, I understand my rights, and I just want to pay cash. I don't want to use my insurance for this particular health care encounter, whatever it is.
So, Dawn, do they have to tell you the price up front for the cash?
It depends on what type of provider it is. Now, the Consolidated Appropriations Act of 2021 that Trump signed just days before his first administration ended requires hospitals to post their prices. Now they post them in machine readable files. That's not fun.
Right.
But nevertheless, they have to post their prices. The way it started, they were required to post 300 shoppable services. Now I think we've reached the point in time where the law requires all services
Wow.
to be posted. So both the self-pay rate and then all the rates for every single carrier they are in network with.
So you say they're
So
posted by
Are they
machine?
doing that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Are
machine
they?
readable files. So
What
yeah,
is it?
are
How
they
do you
doing
how
that?
do
Now,
you
the answer to
how do
that
you
is no,
read
but-
how do you read a machine readable file?
Well, I think it was intended so that data analytics companies, would create software that would parse this data, and then maybe you subscribe to their service.
Yeah.
Whether it was free or a small. There is a free service that does illustrate these machine readable files, and you can search your ICD your code or your CPT code or
Yeah.
your DRG code, whatever it is you're doing. So, but that particular part of the Consolidated Appropriations Act was specifically for hospitals. So if you're just talking about just like a regular doctor, specialist, or even primary care, I think just asking smart questions and just saying, I have a right to know what the self-pay rate is. And many times, until a claim is filed, the providers won't actually know what the negotiated rate their practice agreed to with that particular carrier. So if you walk in the door, they won't know that because the carriers are so unscrupulous, they silo all that information
Yeah.
so that you can't get to it. Here's a really interesting part of insurance company insidious behavior. They hold two sets of contracts. So they have a contract with the providers, and they scare them to death, right? And they say, you can't let any of this proprietary information out. If you do, you cancel your contract, and they scare them. Then
Yeah.
they turn around, at least on the employer side, they have a whole separate contract with the employer. And so never the twain shall meet, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
since they're separate contracts, they don't have to share information between those two. And when the employer's bank account that's tied to their health plan is in under one contract, but then the provider is under a separate contract, and they can charge them, let's say for an office visit, they can charge the plan $300 for an office visit and turn around and only reimburse the provider $100 and keep the difference.
Oh my gosh. Isn't that called the Red Book?
Well, a lot of people believe that to the extent that insurance companies like Blue Cross, United, Cigna, Aetna, that they issue premiums, they collect premiums, and they pay out claims. And to the extent that there's a delta there, that's their profit margin, but that's not true. The Blue Cross, United, Cigna, Aetna, they have
Oh, Dawn, I think we lost you, but I appreciate it. Very interesting. I want to go to Gary. He's in Columbus, North Carolina. Gary, you're in the hospital right now?
Hey.
No. You're a hospital nurse. I'm sorry, I read that wrong. Yeah, what's going on, man?
Well, I just wanted to kind of preface my call saying that I truly, after 20 plus years as an emergency room nurse, the healthcare system is broken, and I understand that. But you were talking earlier about the cost of things in the hospital. But one of the big problems we have in healthcare today that I've seen over all these years is, we see as an emergency room, people use the emergency room as primary care.
Yeah.
They come in, they don't have to pay any co-pays, they don't pay anything. And then they don't, a lot of people, and I don't know what the percentage is, I'm going to guess 30, 40% of people just don't pay their bill, period. So for hospitals, play devil's advocate, hospitals have to make up that cost, and people who have insurance end up having to pay more, or insurance companies have to pay more because of the amount of people who come there for toothaches or whatever it may be, that because they don't want to have to pay co-pays. So, EMTALA, requires us to see everyone. We can't turn people away.
Yeah, you can, and you've got to take into what they call the indigent care. I appreciate it, Gary. Thank you. Got to hit a break here. We'll be right back. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WRD, the voice of the Carolinas.
Hey, this is Tara. Start your day with common sense information and opinion with me on The Tara Show tomorrow morning, starting at 6. News Talk 98.9 WORD, the voice of the Carolinas.
text, or call. One number does it all.
800-905-0989.
This is the Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
All right, let's go to Scott. He's an insurance expert. Scott, welcome. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good, Charlie.
All right.
I'm not an insurance expert. I work at a hospital.
Oh, okay. All right.
But I do. The gentleman that called earlier that was talking about a lot of people use the ED or the ER as pretty much a free clinic.
Yeah.
He really nailed that.
Yeah.
And I'll see people come in and they'll have a toe ache and they do like workup on their head. And so I see a lot of stuff, and I point the finger kind of at everybody.
Yeah.
I'm surprised, but the hospitals they're required to do stuff, but I see them do stuff that actually pertains to zero of what the patient's in there for. And,
Really?
And most, it is riddled with that. Yes, sir, sure is.
Now, I've always heard that if you go to the doctor and they go, "How are you feeling?" just talk about what you're there for.
Oh, we have them come through, Charlie, and they'll say they had a backache for 5 years. They just decided to come in ER, not an orthopedic, not a specialist, and they'll just come into ER and to get it fixed. And his number was a little bit lower. I'm saying probably almost 40 to possibly 50% don't pay at all.
Wow.
And it's riddled. Now, I was hoping that DOJ would come through there and start hitting these nonprofits.
Yeah.
Because trust me, they're profiting.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And it's very frustrating. And for the employees there, too, it's very frustrating because they can't turn them away. But they come in there. We have them come in there for script refills or follow-ups.
Really?
To ER. Yes. And we have them come in there they just want a pregnancy test.
To the
They come in
ER?
there. Yes. I see it all the time. That's a fact. And I work for one of I'll put it this way, probably the biggest player in South Carolina I work for. Yeah.
Wow.
But it is riddled with that. I mean, and it's mind-blowing. It's mind-blowing. And what that does is that delays the people that really need medical attention. It delays their care is what it does. We need, back in the old days, we had a gatekeeper up front diverting people out. We really need to get back into that.
So
you
just said something that is amazing. I wonder, because I just looked it up on Grok, how many of these hospital companies claim to be nonprofit?
That's what bothers me, Charlie. Probably about 95% of them. And that's BS. That's BS. I can tell you that with that. When I see the corporate entities raking in, I mean, my thing is, if you're nonprofit,
Oh, come on, Scott. Let's get that connection back. I want to hear about this. Oh, doggone it. Well, I appreciate it. But yeah, I just looked it up. Number of hospitals in America that are nonprofit, 2,284. That's less than what Scott thought. That's about 49%. Almost half of the hospital companies, the hospitals, consider themselves to be nonprofit. All right, there you go. I want to go to John in Great Court, who's been on hold for a little while. John, welcome.
Oh, I enjoyed listening. Hey, that woman that was your earlier caller about insurance, she's sharp. Hey, listen, WORD listeners, not including me, are the brightest people around. Unbelievable.
I agree. I think you are too, though, John.
You asked about a school that college that dropped its tuition.
Yeah.
About 8 years ago, we were looking for a school for our daughter. I'm a Furman grad, couldn't afford to go there. I like the vibe at Converse, even though I'm conservative and it's not.
Right.
They really were very personable. When my daughter scored over 1,400 on SAT twice, perfect on the verbal twice. So we knew she had some negotiating. So, and I like the environment at Converse. So Converse had just cut their tuition from the mid-40s to 26.
Wow.
And it was very before scholarships, and it caused a rucker at the other. I won't name them. The other schools in the upstate and along the coast, if you know what I mean.
Right.
That because what they do is they jack their prices up and then they start lowering them. And just Congress said, hey, this is our base price. This is what we're going to charge everybody. We'll move from there. And it went from like $42,000 or $45,000 to $26,000.
That's amazing. And the other schools got mad. It's kind of like when somebody in the neighborhood sells their house for cheap and everybody else says, you're driving down our property values. Yeah, I get
exactly
it.
what they said. Yeah.
You're driving down the
And Congress
value.
it's a good school in terms of the academic rigor. It'd be good to talk to somebody there, if you have a chance.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Hey, John,
okay.
I appreciate it, buddy. Thank you. Richard is in Dallas. Richard, what do you think about the health care in this country?
Well, my thoughts on it from everything that I've heard on your show this afternoon, it sounds to me like the insurance companies is running a scam on us, man.
Doesn't it, though?
Versus, insurance versus people with no insurance.
Yeah.
I mean, you hear them talking about what it'll cost with no insurance or what it costs with insurance.
Yeah.
Is that not a scam?
That's absolutely a scam.
I mean, what?
You can't put it any other way.
I mean, really, and they're getting away with it.
It should be one price. You break your leg, $500. Doesn't matter if you got insurance or not. $500.
I know, and it's just not right for them to do that. I mean, who's running the insurance company? A bunch of Somalians?
You know what? You might be right. I appreciate it, Richard. You might be right. Boy, I tell you what, they are scamming everybody up there, not only in Minnesota, in Maine as well. They actually did a study. Thank you, Richard, for that little bit of a segue there. They actually did a study of all of these, these Somali nonprofits. And they found out that they were they were bilking taxpayers. So all of these people were claiming they were feeding hungry kids. There were some recently uncovered documents from a federal trial, and they show that those involved in some of these so-called nonprofits in Minnesota and in Maine were doing everything but what they said they were doing, and that's feeding the kids. They were buying luxury cars, private villas, overseas wire transfers, champagne popping videos. They were everywhere. Some of these documents include documents that funds were spent on. There was one confirmation email for a stay at an overwater resort with a private pool in the Maldives, lakefront property in the land of 10,000 lakes, first-class tickets to Istanbul and Amsterdam, a 2021 Porsche Macan, wire transfer receipts to China and East Africa, and piles of cash being texted between some of these defendants. Thankfully, they are going to jail. Let's go to Sean in Hickory Tavern. How you doing, Sean?
Man, I'm doing great, Charlie. Thank you for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
Hey, you talking about insurance. I got something for you. You're gonna trip on. So I went to my doctor because I had a pain in my neck, right?
Right.
So he determined that it was arthritis from my work for all those years. So he prescribed a TENS unit. Have you ever heard of that?
Yeah, I've got one at the house.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, absolutely. So it's a small electronic device that shocks your muscles and helps to relieve the pain. Okay, great. So he gave me a prescription, and I was supposed to call in for it. So I did. I called in for it. I talked to the insurance agent. He said, okay, your TENS unit is going to be $789 with your insurance. And I said, well, what if I pay for it with cash? Oh, well, if you're going to pay for it with cash, it'll be $340.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right.
Right?
That's unbelievable.
So I was like, wow, is that not fraud?
Yeah, it sounds like it to me. I can't come up with a better definition of fraud than that, Sean. I appreciate it, buddy. Thank you. And I've told you all the story several times about when I tweaked my knee, went to an orthopedist. He gave me a brace for $90. And I was thinking, wow, this must be some kind of a special brace that I've got on, medical grade. I was literally in Walmart that very same night, saw the same brace for $20. Yeah. Yeah, we know what's going on. We'll be right back. It's the Charlie James Show. News Talk 98.9 WRD, the voice of the Carolinas.
15 minutes of breaking news and stimulating talk begins every hour on The Charlie James Show. Afternoons 3 to 7 on News Talk 98.9.
WORD, the voice of the Carolinas. Charlie Speaks. You listen on your time. Get the show on demand. Text podcast to 800-905-0989. The Charlie James Show on News Talk 98.9 WORD.
The voice of the Carolinas.
So you guys remember my I had a bit of a hip problem. A bit of a hip problem. I had a bad hip problem, but it wasn't with the joint. It was around the muscles around the joint. So I went to this physical therapist, great group of people. I won't name them because of the content of this of this story, but they really did a great job. I did dry needling. If you've never done dry needling, it is fantastic. So I went to this physical therapy place, and they asked me if I was there by referral. And I was like, no, I'm not. And they were like, I don't know. And this one texter says it right. He said, Charlie, for decades, doctors have participated in scams also by referral after referral after referral among fellow doctors, each getting a slice of the Medicare pie. And yeah, that does happen. If you need something, so like I knew I needed physical therapy on my hip. I knew I needed dry needling. By the way, it was miraculous what they were able to do for my hip. And it wasn't the joint. If I'd have gone to QC Kinetics for that, but it wasn't the joint. It was some stuff around the hip. But it was fantastic. But why, if I've got a problem with something, and I know this has to do with going to an orthopedist, I ought to be able to just go to an orthopedist. I shouldn't need a referral. Right? I mean, that, again, the health care, the actual care that you get while you're in the hospital, that's good. We've got the best in the world at that. It's the billing around it that is the problem. It's the insurance companies around it that's the problem. And it's the federal government that gets involved in it. That's the real problem. Now, my prediction is the Republicans are going to cave on this. They're going to give the Democrats 3 years extension. Mark my words, this is going to happen. They're going to cave. They're going to give the Democrats the 3-year extension on the COVID expanded subsidies. Now, the reason the Democrats want 3 years is because these things are going to expire just before the 2028 elections. Just short of the 2028 elections. And it's going to become another political football. You watch. I like this text. Charlie, we must replace all Rhino Republicans. All. We need a grassroots national strategy to organize the base against the establishment in the midterms. All conservatives need to get behind one organized effort to destroy the GOP establishment and replace them with men of action. Well, I don't hate this idea. I do not hate this idea because we've got way too many. I mean, we can't control what the Democrats do. They're going to do what they do. I mean, they're just Democrats. But what we can do is control what happens within our parties. And we need to start standing up and saying, you know what? We don't like the way things are going. And the best way that you can do that is get involved in your local parties. That's the number one way. Another way to do it is to show up at those midterms. I keep telling people it is important. The primaries. Show up at those primaries. The primaries are the most important election you're ever going to vote in, especially in an off year, a non-presidential year. They're unbelievably important. That's when you actually have the opportunity to make some change. If you wait until the general election, well, the choice has already been made. And sometimes you just got to go in, like we have had to do here in South Carolina, hold our nose and pull the lever for whomever was chosen. It's the primary, not the primaries. Hush, Charlie. No, I'm right. It was the primaries. It's the primaries that are the most important elections. Well, again, we got elections going on right now. That is happening as we speak. You need to get out and vote. State Senate District 12, that's Lee Bright. State House District 21, that's Diane Mitchell. Special election going on right now. Early voting is underway. It's going to be going on through December the 19th. Early voting location is Monday through Friday, 8:30 to 5 p.m. at McAllister Square on South Pleasantburg Drive. Go by and vote because, like I was telling you, the Democrats are going to try to steal this election at the last minute, in the midnight hour. They've got a write-in candidate that they are running, and they're all going to get behind that guy to try to unseat Lee Bright. Now, that's the one we know about. There may be another campaign for Diane Mitchell's seat. I wouldn't put it past them if there wasn't. But anyway, so get out there and make sure you vote. If you need an absentee ballot, you need to request that absentee ballot by 5 o'clock tomorrow afternoon. All right? So get out there and do that. All right, folks, I am taking tomorrow off. Heidi is going to be in for me tomorrow. Y'all treat her well. I know you will. And we will see you on Monday. Y'all get out there, have yourself a great time, wonderful weekend, and we'll see you soon. As always, we love you. God bless. Buckle up. Bye, y'all.
When Nasty